This is usually the time where the presenter, tells a funny story, really to create rapport related to admissions and marketing. So for the sake of our time, close your eyes, 10 seconds, let's say. Think of a funny story that a presenter has told you recently. Chuckle to yourself and, go ahead and pretend that was me, because I want to make sure that we are mindful of our time here today. So real quick, just a little bit about me for those that don't know. My name is Trevor Waddington. I am a lifelong independent school teacher, coach, director of admission, marketing, enrollment management, you name it. I am now the owner and founder of Truthtree. We work exclusively with independent schools and their camps on search engine marketing, social media marketing, search engine optimization, you name it, when it comes to digital marketing. I left the hustle and bustle of independent school admin life because, frankly, I thought that digital advertising and digital marketing for schools could be done better. And, really, I still do. What's really hooked me is the psychology and the mindset of future and current independent school parents, and how that continues to evolve. I would go so far as to say that, I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with understanding how parents search for, how they value and consider, and ultimately how they buy big ticket services for their children. And that obsession it's really on full display when I'm creating digital search ads, because for 70% of parents that are looking for private schools, that search starts on Google. And not only do 70% of parents who search for an independent school start on Google, but more than 90% of them will use Google at some point during the search phase to gather information about schools they're considering. That's hugely, hugely powerful. Now, this search journey that you see here, this is based on interviews that we conducted with users of DC School Hub and NY Metro schools. Now, these are two websites that I created where parents in the DC and New York City markets can learn about the different styles of education and use that information to search for private schools. Now, with the feedback gathered from those proprietary sites and the parents that had visited them, we can position our school partners, no matter what market they're in real time, to match the wants, to match the needs, the values, and desires of private school searchers. Now, when you are designing your Google ads, there is a lot to consider, but again, we've got a short time, so let's just keep this simple. Now, one, you need to consider who is searching. Is it mom? Is it dad? It could be the student, and a lot more of that is happening now. Maybe it's a grandparent. It could even be, an educational advocate who's searching on behalf of a family. What do they want? Do they want a Catholic school? Or are they looking specifically for pre-K? Do they want to move from public to private? Finally, when they see your Google ad, what do you want them to know? Do you want to know what grades you serve, where you're located? Do you have openings? Maybe it's about a specific program that you have or an admission event that's coming up. Now, today, we'll be answering those questions, and we'll actually mock up a few ads. That way you will leave our session with specific tactics that you can really, frankly, start using today. And to do that, we're gonna have a little fun with it and create a fictitious family and a fictitious school that could be a good fit for that family and for others. So I want to introduce you to Caleb and Blair. And Caleb and Blair, they want the very, very best for their daughter, Zoe. And that includes a world-class education. Now, the family lives near Fisherman's Wharf in San Francisco. Now, Blair and Frank, they're products of a public education, so their only familiarity with private education stems from Blair passing a private school on his way to work. And Caleb's cousin, she sends her son to a private school across town. Now, one school that might interest them is our fictitious Truthtree Academy. Now, here are a few fast facts about Truthtree. This is where I pause so I can take a drink and you guys can read. Now, with the Fast Facts profile, let's go through the steps to create unique campaigns to attract right fit families, possibly like Blair, Caleb, and Zoe. All right, step one, look at your competition. Now, it's not because we want you to directly compete with them, but because you want to see what they're saying. Now, that's one of the first things that we do at Truthtree when we're starting a partnership with a school. Now, the easiest way to do this is just go to Google, type in private schools in San Francisco or best independent school near me. Obviously, you need to be in that market. And look at what they say. You know, are the ads, are they straightforward? Are they creative? Do they talk about programs? Do they talk about events? Do they talk about prestige? You know, what are they talking about in their ads? By studying how the competition is positioning itself for certain search terms and phrases, you will be able to better position your school to capture the attention of a prospective parent. Now, when I ran this search, and any of you can do it as well, there's nothing sort of proprietary here. But what I'm seeing here are very direct, fact-based ads, and there's nothing there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, because these are at the top of page one, and that is a huge advantage, folks. Position matters. I'm going to say that again. Position matters. But even if you're not the top ad, you know, if you're above the fold and your copy draws the eye of the user, you are in a better position to get clicks. So my question to you is, do one of these three ads stand out to you? You know, I have my opinion. You may have yours. And that's because you and I we're different people and we value different things. And from a targeting standpoint, we're different personas. Now, based on this compelling but limited snapshot, how can we create multiple Google search ads and campaigns and ad groups that stand out and make a great first impression? Well, to do that, we need to get into the mind of the searcher. I think I skipped over one of my things because I really like this graphic. So let's go back to this one with step two. Because we've already done step one. There we go. I'm gonna have to edit this now. It's gonna take a little while. Step two, let's go back. Step two is to differentiate. So there's no doubt that you will get the attention you want if your ad is at the very top or above the fold, or at very least on page one. All right. Each page thereafter, you are going to lose clicks more and more and more. But you want those clicks, but you really want those clicks to count. So how do you get that? How do you get that? You got to make it look different. You got to make it feel different, right, folks? Now, as we move into step three, since we've already done that, we're going to move on to step four. And that's just really quickly, before we do that, I should say, it's just really quickly reacquainting ourselves with Truthtree Academy. So, you know, we know that they are a K-12 co-ed school. They're the only IB world school in San Francisco. That's probably totally fake, but they are the 12th among 15 for tuition, architecture and business programs for high schoolers. Very cool. But the school is struggling to attract inquiries into kindergarten and ninth grade. So if we want to increase inquiries, stop that and make that look prettier again. If we want to increase those in K and ninth, we need to answer a couple questions. Who is the ad for? What do they want? And what do you want them to know or do? Now, as we define our audience, there will be people who search emotionally and those who search logically. I mean, it's the classic left and right brainers. Now, if any of you are admission directors out there, you've seen the body language of parents when you are speaking their language. If you're talking test scores and grad stats, the left brain parent leans forward, uncrosses their arms, and with each question, an answer, they're running a cost-benefit analysis in their heads. Now, the ad that will attract them is going to look different than the one pointed at the right brain dominant parent. That's the parent who clicks on an ad because they get a feeling, they're moved to a heightened sense of emotion. So why are they searching? What do they want? At the end of the day, we all want the same thing for our children, and that is a great education. But how they figure that out can take a lot of twists and turns. They may know exactly what they want, or they may just have a general idea. They may be window shopping. That's why at Truthtree, not the Academy, at the company, we design general search campaigns, but also very specific campaigns as well. And we pay very, very close attention to the search terms people use and how that correlates with what Google ads we feed them, and frankly, how we adjust those ads as well. And also where those ads are showing up. So for example, if you're a co-ed school and someone is searching for an all-boys school, what's the point of bidding for the absolute top spot on page 1? We still might want to show them an ad, unless they search, I'm looking for a private school that's for boys, and I will never, ever, ever, never, ever consider a co-ed school. If someone is using that many never evers, they don't want your co-ed school. And unless your ad says you're co-ed, there's a chance you get a click and once they see you're not an all boys school, it's Bounce City. Now, while parents can search using infinite words, infinite never and evers, your ad is very limited to what is served up to them in their results. You only have 60 to 90 characters to truly get their attention with headlines. And then you got to convince them further in 90 to 100 characters in the description. So what do you want them to know? If they're searching for an IB school, your first headline should be about IB. Then in the description, talk about the benefits of your IB program. And now that you have the parents' attention, you got to include a call to action. Inquire today, call us, register for an event. All right, we've put all the pieces in place with steps 1 to 3. Now in step 4, we are ready to create our Google ads. Now the top ad, i.e. the emotional ad, has some different components to attract the right brainer. For one, it provides social proof. And you've got an ad that stands out because you see the quote marks. Wouldn't your eyes go to this ad in a crowd of ads above the fold on page 1? I know they would for me. Then the ad talks about teachers. Who doesn't want their child to have an awesome teacher? All that is topped off with what we call hero-centric language. When you start an ad with your child, you are speaking directly to the parent. Now the one on the bottom, that has investment-based language for the left brainer. IB, for many, is considered a great investment. And I base that statement on the research that we've done, I talked about earlier. And when you can tout your #1 rating, you're tapping into the logical thinker that wants the best and can quantify it being the best. When you're a K-12 school, there is so much to consider based on, ages, grades, or sections people are looking for, lower, middle, upper school. What a kindergarten parent wants and the parent of a rising 9th grader, a high school freshman wants, are very different things. So for example, a high school parent searching for an affordable school that can teach real-world skills may like Truthtree Academy's architecture program. The Academy's tuition, if you remember, is 12th out of 15 among independent schools in the area. So they can safely advertise affordability in their market. And at the same time, we have some data that points to the investment opportunity, as there's a 1 in 3 chance that the parent's child could get a college scholarship. Now, the kindergarten parent loves the idea of an international school that's in the area. So when you read the description, you're also vibing out the uniqueness with a word like only. Now, to ensure you present what they want, you need to make sure the targeted audience and/or keywords and phrases are in lockstep. I mean, most K parents, they're not worried yet about college placements. Of course, some of them are. And parents of high schoolers, they're not going to click on an ad that starts the word kindergarten or has pictures of preschool or kindergarten aged kids. All right, real quick tip from a Google Ads perspective. I mean, it is near impossible to target kindergarten parents. But the beauty of keywords is that the fact that kindergarten is a very specific word used across the United States, and it means the same thing, as far as I know, in all of those markets. So bam, they are searching for kindergarten. Your ad says kindergarten. So when the time is right, you want parents to know what they need to do and prompt them to take action. Now, a great way to get the ball rolling is to, with a call to action in the second or third headline, or definitely in the description. Now, it could be contact us today, inquire, email us, get in touch. I mean, as admission season kicks off, you'll want to make sure people know that they can attend an event at your school or virtually, and you can, start to step up the call to action. Now, as we move deeper into the admission season, you're going to want to step up your game by creating urgency and scarcity as much as possible. Now, all the while extending your keywords into what we call long tail keywords and phrases to match parents and how they are searching and what they want. Now, actually, that brings me to one of my biggest pet peeves. And ultimately, yes, you want parents to apply. This is obvious. But I see so many times in ads and so often on the homepage of your website, and some of you may be, thinking about this right now. If people are searching, they're in consideration mode. So from a psychological standpoint, asking families to apply now is like asking someone to marry you on the first date. Allow the family to get to know you first before requesting they fill out a huge form and send in an application. If it's the first time that they're on your site or on your landing page, give them multiple avenues to reach out from a form. Please make it a short form. Don't make an inquiry form something that is a few questions short of the application. Another pet peeve is having to create a profile just to fill out an inquiry form. Give them multiple quick ways to do that. A quick form, first name, email address. Provide a phone number or have lead gen content. Ask for their email address. Don't make it about applying when all the user wants to find out is, do you have space in fourth grade for next year? My child has a terrible peanut allergy. What is your peanut allergy or tree nut policy? I mean, if you're saying we don't have a peanut allergy policy or we don't have space in fourth grade for next year, I mean, it can end there. You want to, keep them in the mix. And if your peanut allergy policy changes or you do end up getting a spot in fourth grade, you can then reach out to them again. So those are some basic tactics you can use to try to create eye-catching and compelling ads. Now, let's refine your process with some tips to send you on your way to persona-based Google Ads glory. Number one, you have to be vigilant. I mean, don't create ads, stand back, admire them, and then check them a month later. You and your team may think the ad is a grand slam. I mean, frankly, at Truthtree, we may think we've got a great ad campaign set up for one of our school partners. Our school partner thinks it's the end-all be-all of campaigns. And after 2 weeks, the click rate is not what we expected. Or once they click on it and come to the page, they're bouncing off right away. To us, that's a flop. And it's great to be able to find that out in a couple days or a couple weeks than a couple months, and you've now spent a ton of money and gotten no results. Even worse are search terms people use that send them to your site that have absolutely nothing to do with who you are and what you do. You if someone is searching for, for a new blender and they're in Alaska and they see your ad and you are a day school in Nashville, Tennessee, that's not good. Not only is it a waste of your ad dollars, but it's also, it's harming your brand. Unless you do want to start a side gig selling blenders, by all means, then go for it. So be sure to be vigilant, and in fact, make a plan and a calendar so you are regularly checking your ads. Now, another tip is to enlist parent ambassadors or parents you feel comfortable asking to do some snooping. Now, earlier I said you should do those Google searches so you can see what the competing schools are doing. But you might not be in their target audience. You have to ask yourself, do you have kids that are age eligible for your school or the competing schools? Are you in the right income bracket? Do you actually live in the target area? If the answer is no to any of these questions, it's important to find out who would answer yes, and that's very likely a current parent. So tell that, that trusted parent or parents to do the searches. In fact, give them the search terms that you want to be able to glean from to then create your ads. And have them, the best way to do that is just to send screenshots so you can see what order they're in. I mean, there's certain schools, you probably know them as well. Maybe they're a franchisee type school and they have billions, if not trillions of dollars for ads. You don't want to try to compete with them because you're going to be out of money pretty quickly. All right. If you haven't been to Google Trends or SEMrush or anything where you're really able to see search trends, I highly, highly recommend either Google Trends or one of the ones that'll go a little bit deeper. Please, please, please check these out. It's really important. One example is, 13-to-1 people search private school to independent school. Another thing is makerspaces. I mean, it's almost like the dot-com boom in the early 2000s. Makerspaces were nowhere 15 years ago. 5 years ago, they were the end-all be-all of what people searched for. And then that went down, and that went down even more during the pandemic. Now, what we're starting to see at Truthtree is they are making a comeback, because 4 years ago, every school, they were creating a room. It was all about maker spaces. They were building buildings that were maker buildings. That went down, but they're coming back up. So if that's the case, you may want to include the fact that you have a maker space in your ads, especially if they're searching for school with maker space. Next, how we talk about us, and I actually just mentioned one a second ago, is not always how parents search for us. So we like to call ourselves independent schools, but parents 13-to-1 search private school over independent schools. Another is if you call your before kindergarten nursery school or your early childhood center or pre-primary, that's all well and good, but people do not search for that. They search for preschool or pre-K. You've got your K-12 school, you've got lower, middle, and upper school. I mean, how many people do you know came to you because they searched for private upper school near me or best lower school near me? So for digital advertising to be effective, you need to lean in to how people are searching and lean away from your internal language. I'm not saying, go to the head of school and the board and say, we need to change, lower school, we need to always refer to as elementary school, and upper school as high school. But just know that, Google is the tail that needs to wag your dog. All right, one of the best things you can do, and this could be, really a presentation unto itself, is, and this is my last tip, is that, market research can be very expensive or very, very, very expensive. But if you want a simple, inexpensive way to do market research, running Google Ads is a great way to do that. So as an example, over a few weeks, you can see big trends in people coming to your site. Maybe it's because of hands-on learning. So if you have hands-on learning and people are searching for that, they're coming to your site, they're engaging with your pages and with your content, that tells me that really needs to be something that you talk about when parents come in. Take them to classes that are more hands-on, because this is bringing people to your site. So again, if you want that in-depth market research, you're going to spend thousands of dollars, and absolutely is it worth it. But if you can't afford it and you want some quick, actionable research for $50 to $100, I would use, Google Ads data every single time.
There you have it. That was a lot of fun in under 30 minutes, just like I promised. Well, I want to thank everybody out there for tuning in today. I hope you learned a lot about creating Google text ads, specifically for the different personas you have at your school. If you want any additional information, please come check us out at truthtree.com. I would love to chat with you, and have a great rest of your day. Take care.